All right, Miss Chantel, we're here to talk about fitness and technology. Pretty sure that's the goal we're going to have here. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited for fall. We're a football family, so we're excited that football is gearing up.
We're a football family too. It's Thursday night, kickoff to the NFL football season. Chiefs, Lions, going to be awesome.
Ooh, who are you gonna pull for?
I would say the Chiefs normally. Uh, I don't know. It could be different. I don't know if Travis Kelsey's playing or not tonight. Is
Yeah, yeah.
That's the mystery.
We're we are huge college. My husband and sons.
Okay.
I'm kind of vicariously there. We're college football fans, so that's usually what's on all weekend long. College
Well,
football. Yeah,
Saturday college football. Lots to be excited about in college football this year, for sure.
yeah,
So,
for
especially
sure.
where I
Yeah.
live, because I'm in Colorado, about 45 minutes from Colorado University, and Deion Sanders and it's amazing. It's pretty crazy.
Right? Yes, I've been watching and reading and following that, and I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Lots of good stuff going on. And right now I'm in a big fitness interview phase. My podcast is about a lot of different stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm feeling, talking to my colleagues a lot right now. And I saw what you're up to in fitness and technology. I was like, this is a very, I think, important topic to discuss because
Yeah.
this isn't changing and
Mm.
going backwards. It's only moving forwards with it. So describe a little bit about your feelings about fitness and technology, like on a large view, and then we'll bring it back in a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think on a large scale, I think if we're just talking practically speaking, monetarily, there's a lot of opportunity there. It's a huge industry. It's predicted to grow a lot. And I think where I've landed is that as people within fitness, I think we can tend to be intimidated a little bit by technology or be afraid that it potentially can take away from our jobs. And I think the reality is it's here to stay. We don't know exactly how that might look, but it is here. And we can either be a part of it and help determine the direction in which it moves, or we can resist it and potentially run the risk of becoming irrelevant and not as effective in our work.
Talk a little bit more about kind of that fear of replacement and work and jobs. And this seems to be kind of a fear in general society with
Mm-hmm.
AI and automation. How does this particularly affect the fitness industry and maybe some fear that people may have with it?
Yeah, I think where I've seen people become the most fearful is the fear of losing the in-person connection, right? So trainers or instructors that are working in a physical in-person gym setting, I think there's a fear that it's going to pull people away from that. I think there's fear from a mental health perspective. I think we were designed to be people who need to connect ideally in person to be mentally and emotionally well. And so I think there's fear that it will pull people away from that. My opinion is at the heart, I don't think that's the case. I think that it's going to be something that can enhance what's already happening and can be a great supplementary tool.
I have a very interesting point of view on this because for about 17 years I trained people in person. I like it. I definitely enjoy it. And
Mm-hmm.
then about almost 7 years ago, I started into kind of the live virtual format. And honest to truth, I feel like in many ways it's more intimate. It's strange.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's something you don't anticipate because you think I'm not there with the person. But a lot more of our life is like what you and I are literally doing right now. I mean, think about this. This was like Back to the
Yeah.
Future stuff back when I was
Right?
just like, oh my gosh, Needles is on the, Flea from Red Hot
No.
Chili Peppers is on the screen. Like, this is insane. But
Yeah.
there's an ability to connect this way too to enhance that connection.
Oh, I agree wholeheartely. I've trained in person during the pandemic, like everybody. I was training via Zoom. I agree with you. It definitely felt a little bit more intimate, and I think it could be that it takes a ton of courage to put your camera on yourself and move on your camera, knowing that everybody and not everybody would do that. I had a lot of
Yeah.
cameras pointing up at the ceiling or just turned off. But
Yeah.
for those people that turn them on, that takes a ton of courage and
Yeah.
vulnerability. And you're right. I think it just brings a level of appreciation and closeness in a different way. And I was able to train with and interact with people, all over the country. Whereas pre-COVID, I was really training and interacting with people on a more local level. So
Yeah.
it definitely helped me increase my reach. And I think for those trainers and those fitness professionals who are really passionate about their messaging, I feel like generally fitness people, man, we care a lot about people's well-being, and we have a
Yeah.
lot of good messages to share, and it increases that opportunity.
I think so. I mean, it expands your opportunity. And I think one of the interesting things is it's kind of like I noticed this very quickly. You're locking eyes with someone in a different way. And I kind of wanted to get in this as I start thinking about it, because I think there's a lot of our colleagues that, um, they think that there's just not enough intimacy with it. And I think that there's something very intimate about looking at someone right in their eyes through a camera that is different than the intimacy of looking at someone's eyes in person. I know it's kind of a weird difference, but it's kind of like when you train someone in person, there's a lot of distractions. And there can be online too. People's
Yeah.
dogs, children, all this stuff. But I noticed that big difference is kind of like you're in this kind of tunnel with another person. And it feels like it's very difficult to have kind of like a side thing happening during that. Whereas in person, people go to the bathroom. They may, like in my case, I was running a residential fitness facility. They're talking to their neighbors. There's lots of interruptions
Yeah.
potentially. I feel like that gets taken away a little bit in this. I don't know. Have you experienced this a little bit?
Yeah, I think that, similar with meetings, right? Like when I go
Yeah.
to in-person work meetings, man, we'll kind of shoot the breeze for
Yeah.
a decent amount of time, and we
Yeah.
might talk and people joke around and we get water. But when I'm conducting, especially when I'm doing consulting with companies on a virtual level, we're really down to business because nobody really wants to be on here all that long, right?
Right.
Like, and
True.
so I think on a coaching level, fitness or health coaching, I've done virtual health coaching. I think it's efficient. We know why we're here. We have limited time. Let's get down to business. Let's still connect and make it personal, but let's focus on why we're really here.
Most definitely. So let's bring it in a little bit. What are some of the technology based initiatives that you're working on, and maybe some things that may be surprising to people as we move forward in this digital age of fitness?
Yeah, so I'm currently advising for a company that just produced or just created the first ever regenerative AI driven fitness platform, which that's especially one that a lot of fitness professionals get nervous about. I think that's where they start to fear that they're going to get replaced. And I think what we're seeing is that people are using it, especially what we're finding are and our demographic, our target market are people who currently probably aren't really working out. They're maybe too intimidated to go to a gym. They're tech forward. They're comfortable with technology. And so this is now becoming an entryway to get them moving their bodies. And so what's giving us the opportunity to do is to tap into a demographic of people who currently haven't been connected to fitness. And now, because they're excited about the technology, they're now getting connected to fitness and hopefully going to start moving their bodies and feeling better and getting stronger.
Talk about the regenerative action. I think it's good to operationally define that. So, and even our colleagues too, especially just
Right?
whoever lists colleagues, general population, the regenerative part of that. Please talk about that.
Yeah. So like what Chat GPT has been, where you can go in and I use it frequently, especially for marketing purposes and things like that. I can type up, hey, write me an Instagram post promoting this program that I'm launching. What we've created, and the project is called Fit Hub, is individual can go in and say, create an upper body workout from me. And we essentially have a virtual coach that will walk them through that process. And the regenerative AI piece is that when people use it, and if the virtual coach pulls up something that's not working or not appropriate, and if the person can identify that, then the regenerative AI can correct itself in the future. And so far it's not perfect, but it's
Right.
it's going really well and we're happy with it.
What are some of the future applications of this that maybe we're not thinking about currently, or maybe you're thinking about, we're just not privy to it at this point?
Right, right. Well, like I had mentioned, I think it taps into a market of people that could potentially be too intimidated to go to a gym and go to in person. They might be too intimidated to find a virtual coach financially. Maybe they can't afford a virtual coach, but they could afford this. I think it opens the doors potentially for some corporate wellness, maybe those small businesses that don't have um, the margin in their budget to provide, like one of the more common wellness platforms. They just can't afford it. They're a small business, but they want to offer something. And so this is an opportunity for them to offer something to their employees at a really affordable cost. So much I talk all the time with my clients, and I feel like in America, especially, we just have this all or nothing way of thinking. I either
Yeah.
do it this, sorry, I got a fly buzzing
I
around
just
me.
saw it. Yeah. That was
Right?
weird.
Yeah, it was weird. We either need to do something this ideal, perfect way, or why should we do it at all? And I've found that the best way to combat that is to do what I call a just do something, have a just do something mentality. And I think that should be our approach to technology. And that's what our approach at Spin is, the company I'm advising for. The platform is called FitHub. But that's been our approach. Like, let's just do something. Let's offer something for these people that might not be financially able to go to a gym, physically able to go to a gym. Maybe they live somewhere where they just don't have access, or they're too intimidated. Let's provide something for them. Let's create something that small companies can use to really provide wellness for their employees. Let's make fitness more accessible, and let's use the technology. Let's leverage it to make that happen.
I think that's totally right. I mean, it's almost a tiering method of
Mm-hmm.
opportunities. At a certain level, there's going to be people that personal training or whatever in person, whether virtual, is going to be attainable financially. But
Mm-hmm.
there's also levels as a fitness professional, you can continue to move in those different levels, and the consumer could move to those different levels wherever they're at currently,
Mm-hmm.
whether that is at this place or they move up into a different level. There's going to be more opportunities, and I think in the end it just gives more opportunities for all of us in the business. And it doesn't
Right.
mean that there's this competitive aspect back that you're taking away this from me and that. I think we have this weird scarcity mindset in fitness that is
Yes. Oh
completely
my gosh.
ridiculous, I think, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
I agree. Thank you. I agree. I feel like, yeah, we do have a scarcity mindset. I've seen it when I've worked at gyms. Trainers and instructors get a scarcity mindset on, if they're personal trainers, not wanting anyone to steal their clients.
Yeah.
I've seen instructors do it, like not wanting other instructors to steal people from their classes.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, let's just be open handed and recognize that when we collaborate together, we're able to get more done, and we're able to move things forward more effectively and efficiently. And there's plenty to go around, and we all have the same goal. So let's just let each other be creative and work towards that goal together.
Most definitely. I remember when I was running a club and I had a large training team, and I used to say, this is how we're going to do this. If you're out of town and you need to take some time, we're going to make sure one of the other staff members works with your clients, and there's going to be no weirdness about it. This is
Yeah.
about helping these folks. And once we got that going, it was never an issue. It was like
Right.
they couldn't help. They were like, I'm going to take a week off. You're going to be in great hands with my colleague here. But I think it's putting that into motion. It starts at the top, and having that say, hey, listen, we're a team. This is a team. Like, this is
Yep.
football season. We're a team. We have this goal here.
Right.
You got to make
Right.
money. I got to make money. We understand that, but this is a team.
Yes.
If we worked more like a team in these environments, there'd be less of this scarcity or competitive mindset.
Yes, I agree. And I think to remember that we have that technology isn't the enemy. It's not evil. I mean, the conversations that our team has had around the ethics of this, and recognizing that, yeah, ideally we want people to find some community and belonging through fitness. And ideally, how do we get this AI platform? How do we get this just to be the launching point to hopefully get them to the place where they are feel confident to go on a run with a friend, or a walk with a friend, or join a class at the gym? Or how can we use this so that a trainer could leverage it? So I think thinking what's the word I want to use, like benevolently of one
Yeah,
another, and benevolently of the
it's all
industry.
good.
That, that's a big word, that as a whole we really do, I think, for the most part, and those of us that have been in it and worked at it, we have the goal of wanting people to feel better and to
Yeah,
grow.
most definitely. Let's continue with the tech topic here. So, like, in your mind, as maybe we're not around for this, maybe we are, technology moves so quickly. What's the coolest thing you could see happening technologically for our industry in the future?
Oh, wow. And I can't go into any
Don't give up any
details.
secrets now. Come on. Don't
I
do it.
can't legally. I'm working in the very, very early stages of a fitness tech startup that is wanting to create some wearables that can scan your whole body and then enter into a virtual platform so that you could train in real time with another trainer across the country. That so far, I'm like, that's pretty dang cool. And then grow it to where you're doing classes in real time with other people all over the world and trainers um, and have a cool, so kind of merging VR, AR, AI all
Yeah.
together while cultivating that in real time connection with people. That would be pretty cool.
I think that would be really amazing. What are your thoughts about holographic technology in fitness for the future?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, I think something that I'm learning along the way is that, I mean, a lot of things are possible, right?
Yes.
I'm not, the interesting thing is I'm actually not a super techie person, which I
Yeah.
think to some degree is what makes me good at my job, because I can look at a product and I can go, a fitness person is not going to want to use this. This is too technical. That this is going to get in the way. So I don't know a ton of the back end tech pieces, but what I have learned is that a lot is possible. People who are good at tech and creating tech are very smart and very resourceful and very hard workers. And why I love what I do as far as bridging the gap between fitness and tech is when you kind of bring the passion and the people focus of fitness in with some of the resourcefulness and the brains and the creativity of the tech, man, you can make some really cool things happen.
I think so. One time, well, I lived in Vegas for like 13 years, and early on in that time, there was a nightclub. I think it was in the Venetian, and they had holographic dancers in there. It wasn't that great, honestly, the way it looked, but I was like, this is insane. Just the
Yeah.
idea. And,
Yes.
the whole Star Wars and all these different things, the holographic Luke Skywalker shows up or whatever. And you see this more in newer shows too. Feels like movies forecast the future. A lot of what we
Yes.
do now was in a movie before.
Yes.
And I feel like they're pretty good predictors. And I think there's a time coming where we could do this as holograms and
Yeah. Wouldn't
record
that
it.
be awesome?
How sick would
Like,
that be?
yeah. Yes. Feel like we're actually sitting in the same room, but
Yeah.
1,000 miles apart and able to connect as people that are passionate about the same thing.
Yeah. I think initially it'll look kind of glitchy more than
Mm-hmm.
likely as you work out the bugs, but eventually it may be almost indistinguishable from reality at some
Well,
point down the line.
the thing that my team and I talk about frequently, especially as things are moving more and more towards Web3, is, hey, remember what the internet was first like when it came out? We had no idea of what it would be capable of. And it was like I had to go into my family's, like our office with, that was just like off our family room. And I would be like, nobody get on the phone. I'm getting on the
That's right.
internet, right? I have to plug it in. It was this whole ordeal. And look where it's come now and how we've adjusted. We're not going to go from 0 to 100
No.
overnight. We're going to acclimate and we're going to figure out the goods and the bads and the uglies, and we'll figure it out and we'll work it out and have opportunities to do some really great things.
Well, and technology advances at such an incredibly rapid pace. There's a lot of good related to it, but maybe what are some things we should be cautious about when advancing
Mm-hmm.
this in the fitness space?
Yeah, I know. In the project that I'm currently working on right now, one of the things that we've been very aware of is people's, just making sure people are safe and making sure that as someone types in a workout that, and I even, I was trying it one day and I was like, I typed in, hey, I need a stretching routine. And this was very, very, very early on. And it pulled up like push-ups, right? Like, cause
Yeah.
it's AI is learning. It's like, hey, that has to be honed in because we can't be putting people in a position where if they don't necessarily know any better, they're kind of vulnerable. We're hurting them. So we've been very aware of and concerned for safety. We've had lots of conversations about just mental health and social media and how the comparison piece and how do you use like add some competitive fun to things while not increasing comparison and kind of a narrative of shame either, because I do think there's enough that we've learned through social media to know that we've got to be really careful of the things that we're presenting
Yeah.
people as far as what they're aware of that other people are doing. And so how do we shape that in a way that's positive and uplifting and they're encouraging one another? So I've been impressed with the conversations as a whole that are being had around the ethics and safety of the technology that's being integrated.
Have those conversations um, been a lot more forward thinking than they have in the past when you've worked with different people? Do you feel the
Yeah, I
difference?
yeah, I think, well, and granted, I'm talking to people who are also similar to me and that they're also wanting to integrate tech. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I would say again, pre-COVID, I think there's probably more of this like, oh no, why would we do that? And we just shouldn't touch that. And
Yeah.
this is just isn't a good idea. Whereas now I think there's a willingness to be like, yeah, let's explore this, but let's have some conversations first around what could go wrong with it. Knowing what we know just from some things that we've learned as far as how virtual can maybe not have a positive impact on people. How
Right.
do we work around that? And how do we be aware of that?
There's some really interesting conversations in this space. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you commented on one of the other people I talked to. I can't remember, but we were having this conversation around privacy and gym spaces related to social media
Mm-hmm.
areas in gyms. What are your thoughts on this? Have you talked to people you worked with about like creating different spaces for people to post, do all these things? Whatever the future holds in that. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I think initially our thought has been let's just focus on the fitness piece first. Let's make it really, really well. And then let's be very mindful of the community piece and let's take everything that we've learned that's that negatively can come from social media and
Mm,
let's figure out a way to work around that. Let's be respectful of people's privacy. I think as a woman I'm very mindful and conscientious of like let's not create anything that's going to make women feel insecure,
yeah.
or that they need to meet this certain unrealistic standard with their body. um, I think to me, it feels like an opportunity to reshape some of the narrative that of fitness. Let's reshape it. Let's reshape it away from, and I think it's moving that way already, away from just the aesthetics, just
Yeah.
looking good, and let's reshape it and think of how can this make you feel better mentally, emotionally. How can you feel physically stronger? How can it make you feel more connected? So it feels like a blank slate, I think, in some ways, which is exciting.
I think that's part of the big conversations I've had is like this is a reboot almost of
Mm-hmm.
how we see this and kind of the marketing and the
Mm-hmm.
projection of it. So how have you seen maybe different marketing approaches in the fitness and tech space that are different from what you've seen in the past?
I do feel like right now I'm seeing more of a focus on fitness as wellness, a more of a holistic approach to fitness, as opposed to fitness as this gateway to look the way that you've always wanted to look, or the promotion of workouts that are just not reasonable and probably not good for you. I do feel like there's a more holistic way of thinking and approaching things now, a much more educated way. There's a lot more integration, I think, between mental health and fitness now than what there was before. A lot more conversations around it, which I think is great.
I think so too. I mean, I think you're getting in some circles polling data that is saying that people are working out primarily for mental health
Mm-hmm.
purposes versus just the aesthetics. That's a to me that's a huge shift that is happening
Mm-hmm.
because so much of the messaging is kind of this how you look, this also cliff based mentality, which is 30 days, 60 days.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell do you do after that? It's like this
Right.
turning away from these almost like gimmicky pull
Mm-hmm.
you in snake oil salesperson approach, which has been
Yes.
so prevalent in our industry for a really long time and in society in general.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's marketing genius. It gets people's attention and it's intriguing and it's easier to commit to 30 days than to a year, but it's not really helping anybody. And so I've been a fitness instructor for 15 years, personal trainer, and then I'm a certified health coach. And so what I love about health coaching is it's all about behavior change. So that's been a lot of our
Mm-hmm.
conversations in creating these this tech is how can we point towards behavior change in a positive way? What can we integrate to help them to not just do this for 30 days and not just do this to look a certain way, but do this to reach, their overarching value of why they need to do this.
How do we get people excited about kind of the daily show up aspect of in fitness and wellness versus what always attracts people, which is the extreme bodies and over the top marketing? How do we change that to get people at least more agreeable to just the consistency, the sustainability of health and wellness?
Yeah, I just created a video yesterday for some virtual clients, and it was talking about how motivation is sexy, but motivation is not sustainable. If we just rely on motivation, really what it comes down to is discipline. And discipline gets this kind of negative connotation, right? Because it feels restrictive and like, don't tell me what to do. But it's like discipline is just choosing what you want the most over what you want right now. And it gives you freedom. And so a lot of times what I try to do is like, let's take it back to hope. Where do you hope this takes you? How do you hope you'll feel? What do you hope you can do? Let's focus on the hope of it as opposed to the fear that you're maybe trying to avoid. Let's be hopeful about what could happen and what you could make happen if you were to start this journey.
I love that. Hope's a great word. And it reminds me of kind of some podcasts I've had about kind of the language of fitness and wellness and how we haven't done such a great job providing good terminology or terminology that has a connotation that is actually positive, but we've made negative for that, So I think the language part is we need to have a better common language and take things like discipline and be like, well, this isn't like a militaristic thing. I think people think about it that way. It's like, let's reshape or reframe our language in health and fitness and wellness.
Yeah. I started to realize it was about a couple of years ago, just I think through my own growth process and journey, how prevalent shame is in the fitness journey. And but a lot of times people will make decisions to start this journey out of shame over how they look or shame over that they don't have enough energy. And there's just so much shame around it. And the problem is that shame is a very powerful short-term motivator. It can get you moving and doing stuff for a short amount of time, but it is not a sustainable long-term motivator. So I agree with you. I think there's a lot of reshaping, reframing. I think we need to shift the narrative on some things. I do think it's moving in that way, which I'm excited about.
I think so too. And it's definitely a huge part of my conversations with people like in virtual coaching and that aspect of those things that I do is, what do you think about this? Have you thought about this word in the past? How have you thought about that word in the past? What comes to mind? And just almost just pre-programming and say, hey, listen, this doesn't mean that actually. But maybe you were socialized into this word meaning something really bad to you. It's kind of like when I always tell people when they say, oh, cheat days and this stuff. Well, what's the connotation behind cheating? Like just to, I love saying this to people and they go, oh, not good. Like it's a bad thing. So why do you use that word
right
cheat day? I'm like, that makes
why do we call
sense.
it cheat day instead of freedom day?
I know, like it's just words. Like, okay, so this, but if you ever think about the meaning of it and really sit with it, you're like, this doesn't sound right that I'm saying this. But people don't often evaluate the things that they're saying and doing. They just kind of go on the wheel. And you got to get off the wheel at some point to start evaluating, critically thinking about things.
Yep, I agree.
So it's I think language has actually been a big barrier for a lot of people that they haven't actually thought about for it.
I would agree. And to be honest with you, I have thought about it, but not to the extent that I think you have. And I think I like that. It's I think it needs to be talked about more. And I think there needs to be more awareness. And I think as fitness professionals, we need to recognize our responsibility and helping those that we work with how they view these words and the understanding of it and reframing it.
So, and adding on to I want to get back to the tech piece, especially steering this towards that. how do you see, like, I love going to conferences, I enjoy it, and especially a lot of the trade shows is where you see a lot of the tech stuff, or you go to
Hmm.
CES or any of the big
Yep.
conventions, fitness. Is that evolving in any way there, like the presentation of tech at these conferences and places, or how do you see that?
Right now, I feel like it's in the very early, kind of clunky stages, kind of like what we were
Okay.
talking about with the internet, right? Like it's getting there. I think it's
Mm,
figuring out how to integrate it, figuring out how to make it seamless. A lot of that's figuring out the technology,
yeah.
figuring out how to package it. One of the things that drew me to this space was just realizing like there's just there's a lot of fit tech out there. I don't think there's a lot of people helping fit tech to do this in a way that really makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, why should we create a product just to create a product? Let's
Yeah.
do something that's actually helpful and makes sense, and refine it and put a lot of thought and care into how we do it.
This is a good topic of conversation. This is a good segue into kind of the general population is purchasing technology, but whether it's Oura rings, whether it's Apple Watches, Fitbits, you name it, whatever is out there, but often with not knowing what to do with the information that they're getting. How
Mm-hmm.
can we cut down on kind of the barriers to understanding the information that these monitoring systems are giving us?
Hmm. I think I tend to be a person that when I think of patterns that I'm seeing, I tend to think like what's at the root of that? Like what's at the root of those purchases? And I wonder like is it a hope that this is going to be a quick fix? Is it a hope that this is going to be something that'll help this be a little bit maybe easier? Is it a hope that this is the thing that'll help me to figure this out? And so I do think that there's an element that we can create lots of fitness technology and products, but this is where relationships I think do come into play. And I think when I've had people that I work with that have a relationship with me and then use some technology, I'm able to help them understand helpful ways that they can integrate it into their life and have it be useful. I think where I see a lot of times where people could struggle is when you get something and you don't know what to do with it, and you don't have a professional that's kind of helping you figure it out. So this is where I think that I don't think that the true personal connection ever really will go away, because I think the relationship piece is important, whether that's through your own virtual platform as a trainer, or whether a lot of what my virtual um, products that I create on my own is it's supplementary. So people that maybe would want to train with me, but maybe they can't afford it
Yeah.
or they don't have time in their schedule, I can offer them supplementary programs, and then they have access to me and they can ask me questions and I can kind of help hold their hand through it.
Right. Oh, this is a good point. What about let's dive deeper into kind of the gadgetry a little bit here. When there's like I love this stuff, but I think about, I've been in the business 23 years, I have a lot of education. I understand oxygen saturation levels, VO2 max, all that stuff, but most of the public does not.
Mm-hmm.
Is this I have really no, I mean, I'm just throwing a question up here. Is it a good
Yeah.
thing to have all these metrics that people generally don't understand without providing something that makes it easy for them to apply that in their life?
Yeah, I think where it's good and helpful is for those people who are knowledgeable and really into that stuff,
Yeah.
and just it kind of lights them up and it makes their workouts more fun, and they like to track those things, and that's kind of their jam. I think that's where it's great. I think the risk is for the general population. I think it can get very overwhelming and confusing. Um, just even I've had people that I've trained that maybe they check their heart rate on their watch and their
Yeah.
watch is saying that's too high, but physically they feel fine, but they start to experience some stress and anxiety because of what their watch says. And so I do think that sometimes, too much information can actually not be great for us.
Right.
Um, and I think what's tricky is a person kind of needs to know themselves. And I know that I'm a person that I like to keep things pretty simple. I like to move quick. I don't like to have a bunch of different things to focus on and make decisions about. But then I have people that they love having lots of little different gadgets and
Yeah.
things and metrics that they're following. So I think you kind of need to know yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does the consumer know that when they go to purchase something? Like could there be better marketing for when someone say, hey, this product, maybe not so overtly say it, I don't know, I'm not involved in that, but hey, this is a lower tech option for people who are
Mm-hmm.
maybe like, this is for fitness professionals, this is for,
Right.
I feel like that's not being done. Like,
No, I feel like the fitness industry as a whole is pretty scattered.
yeah,
There's not a lot of it's like this over here and this over here and this
yeah,
over here. And yeah, I think ideally it would be so helpful if someone who's brand new to fitness, they hear about this product on TikTok or whatever,
right,
they go to buy it. And if it were to say, like, hey, if you're new to fitness, this might not be helpful for you.
right, right, right.
Wouldn't
Think
that just
about
be
it.
kind?
Think about kids' toys. It's like, oh, this is good for 3 to 5 year olds. This is good for
Yes.
10 to 12. Like, we need something like that. This is
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, this is like, if you're a beginner, you're advanced, something to that. I think with just people have better informed decisions instead
Yeah.
of getting something that maybe they're getting because it's gadgety and it's a shiny
Yeah.
new toy. And then there's just attrition, it just becomes something that's in a closet. I
Yep.
think you have to give people better ideas about how,
Yep.
like, where, help them know where they're at, assist them, create some
Yes.
scaffolding. I don't see that.
Yes. No, I don't either. And I think right now it's reliant upon if that person is connected to a fitness professional and how can
Yeah.
that fitness professional speak some wisdom to them. But if you don't have that, which a lot of people don't,
Most people don't. Like,
right?
barely. Most of the people in our country are not exercising regularly. So
Right.
it's basically most people you're marketing to, I mean, a segment of people, a small segment of people. I mean, but I've know plenty of people who are not working out regularly and they have an Apple Watch. I mean, it's like, what?
Yes.
I mean, is it just to tell time? Probably not. If you get it for, I mean, you can
Right.
get a Casio cheap watch for that. It's like,
Yep. Yep. This is where hype is helpful, but hype also isn't great.
yeah, it's, and again, it's, you're trying to make money and things of that
Hmm.
nature, but I don't, how could it be that hard to just create some guardrails here a little bit?
Yeah, I had a conversation a couple months ago with a gentleman that is launching the first ever fitness specific search engine. And I thought it was brilliant because it's an
Wow.
effort to bring some order and structure to this very chaotic space. So it made me I am hopeful that I think as especially those of us who are speaking out about it, that there are some guardrail rails that will start to be
Yeah.
created.
Because, I mean, I actually like a lot of technology, but then there's certain things that I do that I want it to be low tech for
Yeah.
it. It's like sometimes, like, I have an Apple Watch, but when I'm running, sometimes I don't like to like hold my watch up and look at it. I
Yeah.
don't, that feels like there's wasted energy to me. Whereas, and
Right.
then I'll just low tech down to like just a stopwatch that's right in front of me. And
Right.
I think these are maybe some product design things maybe not being thought of. But that's why I wanted to have this conversation. Is this is
Yeah.
cool stuff. I mean, this is great
It
stuff to
is.
discuss.
I mean, I think we are not far off getting to a place where what are now kind of clunky VR goggles will
Yeah,
get streamlined down to just some sunglasses that you can tap your wrist or whatever, and it will
yeah.
pull up those metrics that you want to see very, very easily. And I think that's great, especially like I said, I mean, it opens up a lot of opportunity. People who are super techie and really into it and want to know their fitness metrics, but also it could help those who are new to fitness. It could help them, you know, learn some things about their journey and what they're doing and teach them as they go so they're not doing it just by themselves completely.
Do you see a future where fitness tech is biologically merged with your body?
I don't know. That's interesting. I honestly I haven't really thought about that much or explored it much. Um,
I've thought about it a lot, actually.
I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think?
I think there's a lot of amazing potential with that. But then, like, I know because of my podcast, lots of hackers and who
Mm-hmm.
do ethical hacking. And they always tell me, Darian, it sounds great, but someone like me will then hack into your brain.
Yeah.
And there's a huge danger of like the firewall. And do you want me inside your brain? and hacking all
Right.
that information. And I said, oh man, I didn't think about that.
Right.
But is there
Well, and
also a benefit though to having like your all the vitals and metrics about you just like not in something you're holding, but it's just a part of you?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it would definitely be fascinating. I mean, the human body is amazing, and it's, you know, the most elite machine that's ever been
Yeah,
built, right? And
pretty
it
much.
has the ability
Yes.
to heal itself and all this stuff. So it would be pretty fascinating to have the ability to know and better understand what is going on with your body. Yeah, that would be
I mean,
pretty,
thinking
that could be
maybe
cool.
there could be some advantage to it, onset of early signs of something,
Mm-hmm.
being told that, hey, you're tired, or this is a larger percentage of chance that this could happen because of these habits, but that you took away the manual aspect of it. It just was like flowing to you. I don't know. There's just a lot of,
Yeah.
I think if humans are around in 500 years, this will be part of it. There's no doubt
Yes.
about it.
Yeah. And and I think it would be, so I love dreaming and talking about ideas. So I could just ramble all day long now about this. But you think about someone, so I was an athlete, so I'm very aware of my body.
Same
I
here.
know what's hurting, what's not feeling, like I'm very aware of it. But a lot of people aren't, like they
So
haven't been
true.
taught. And something like this could help someone generate and cultivate some body awareness.
This is like literally a conversation I had earlier today with someone. Was that I was a collegiate track and field athlete, athletics my whole life, and I know what it feels like to suffer
Mm-hmm.
athletically and
Mm-hmm.
cope with pain. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're working with clients, and especially people who have never had that background or have never
Yeah.
really had any type of intensity like that, they look at it as I'm hurt, or
Yes.
this is so this something's wrong with me. Right.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult sometimes to bridge that gap, because in your
Mm-hmm.
mind you're like, I mean, you have no clue what I've gone through. I've gone through hell and back, man. Stuff like,
And I was okay. Like,
yeah, like it's all good. Like you're gonna, you have more resilience than this. But it
yes.
may be interesting technologically if something could provide biological feedback. Is okay, you're not used to this, but I don't know how it would work. Just
Yeah.
something that
Yeah.
helps to bridge that gap, because it's very difficult for me to say that to someone who has zero background and actually
Right.
just hates to expand their rib cage quite a bit. They're just like,
Yes.
how do you get comfortable with that in terms of improvement and a
Right.
specific metric?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it's, how do we, I mean, so much of my conversations right now is it's like, hey, the pain that we're looking for is, that we would be aware of, is sharp. If it's a sharp pain, then pay attention to it, right? But if it's like a sore muscle or it's uncomfortable, you're fine, And so
Yeah,
to have a something alert their body to be like, oh, stop what you're doing. Oh, that's not going to
yeah,
work. Oh, you're about to tear something. That would be
right.
pretty cool.
That would be cool, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've had I don't know if you've seen this, I'm sure I mean, this was a while ago. I had some clients come in, this is when I was training in person, with pants that had like sensors on it and stuff, and shirts, and it would like they had an app, and then it would like, say this part of the body is exerting this much. It was like a weird thing. It was
That's
clunky though.
fascinating.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just like fit tech clothing.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably an area too, right? That's probably at
Mm-hmm.
some point gonna not have like a gigantic battery in it and stuff, like
Right.
not
Yeah.
be clunky. It has to be seamless. I feel like at some point.
It has to be seamless for those who are into fitness, and it has to be not intimidating for those who are getting into fitness. We have to figure
Yeah,
out, so much of it is getting into the human, just the human brain and how it works, and what prevents us from wanting to try something,
yeah,
identifying that, and then making sure that we don't do that.
yeah. That's why I think it's inevitable down the line that there's a merging, because the most seamless thing is to have nothing that
Mm-hmm.
you're turning on, holding, it's almost literally just kind of part of your existence. It's just
Yeah.
scary, but that's probably the most seamless way to do a lot of things. It's just to
Yeah.
merge with it, which it just
Yeah.
very sci-fi, you know?
Yeah. But like we said, I mean, when you were talking about holograms earlier, I was thinking about when I was a kid. I love Star Wars. And I
Yes,
just thought those holograms were so cool. And who would have thought? And we're there. And
it exists. A company
yeah.
called Portal in LA. I did a presentation at a conference. It was about the history of digital fitness. And it was all the way from low tech stuff in the past, all the way to current future stuff. And I mean, they have holographic like boxes, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
the demonstration of it was mind blowing, but they're like $60,000, you know,
Right.
and you know, that'll go down. The price will come
Yeah.
down over time, just like video
Yeah.
conferencing did when it
Yep.
first, it will go down. And
Yep.
I foresee a future where, you know, I'll work with a client, but like, you know, do you want to meet at this location? And where's
Mm-hmm.
your favorite place in the world? We'll
Mm-hmm.
meet there, and it will be indistinguishable from actually being there.
Mm-hmm.
And we will train there at the backdrop of whatever setting for that.
Right.
And I will feel like I'm there. It'll be a Black Mirror episode, basically.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. I don't think we're that far off from that. I bet 5 to 10 years we're there.
Whoa, 5 to 10
I,
years?
I think so. I'm working with a company that's already working towards building some of that out.
That's insane. It's
Mm-hmm.
like gonna be Ready Player One. You know, come
Right?
as an avatar. You don't have to be yourself
Mm-hmm.
today. Dress up in put some weird thing on. You know, whatever. It's type of that could be insane. Actually,
I know. I know. It's crazy and exciting at the same time.
it is crazy and exciting. Well, listen, this was pretty good stuff. I got to tell you, I
Yeah.
love fitness and technology talks, which is why I wanted to talk to you about this stuff. And Chantel, really appreciate you giving me some of your time. So please let everyone know how they can connect with you and learn more about the
Yes.
work you're doing.
Yep. So on LinkedIn, you can type in my name. I feel like LinkedIn, it's not easy. It's not like, hey, at
No, it should be
Chantel
easy.
Oakley.
Yeah.
It's like mine's got like weird numbers and letters and stuff. But
Again, a
I would think,
barrier should not be that
yeah,
barrier. Get rid of
exactly.
it.
Hey, LinkedIn, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
If you were to just type in Chantel Oakley fitness tech, you would pull up my name. And then I'm on Instagram at Chantel Oakley. And then my website is chanteloakley.com.
Very simple. Very
Yep.
awesome. Thank you
Yeah.
so much
Thank
for
you
your
for having
time.
me.
Yeah, of
Yeah, this is
course. And
great. I appreciate it.
happy kickoff to football, NFL. You know, college has been going
Yes.
on since last week or so, but have a good viewing time with all the sports. It's gonna be awesome.
Yes. Good luck to University of Colorado, right?
It's
Where
coming up. It's
Neon
coming
Dion
up.
is.
Yep, we're in
Yeah.
Nebraska this week. It's gonna be very
Okay.
interesting. I can't wait to the press conferences for sure.
I seriously, I'm like, yeah, yeah, the game. Let's get to the press
Let's
conference.
get to the press conference. It's talking about. You know, was the best thing before I let you go was I saw the talk he did to the team after they won, and it was
Hmm.
like so inspirational. And he's like, "We're not coming anymore." And the players go, "We're here." Like they all bought in, you know. And he goes,
Yeah.
"Play my theme music," and he starts dancing. Oh, it was the best. I was like, "This guy has way too much swag for all these other college coaches. They can't. They just
I
can't be like him, you know."
I feel like I'm reliving some nostalgia. Like I grew up with like Neon Dion, like
Yes,
he was the thing. And so
I
now
stepping
to
into
be able
the
to
end
watch him.
zone. Yeah, wearing the big
Yes.
chains. I'm like, it's back.
Yep.
You know, he's like a one of one. There's nobody. There's
Oh
no one
yeah.
like Dion. You can't replicate this. You know, it's
No, no. This is going to be a really fun football season for that reason alone.
that's exactly right. Thank you, Chantel.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
We'll see you next time.
Sounds great. Thanks so much.